2 years ago. Previously, we were based in Moscow. We invested mostly in US, UK, Germany, Austria, little bit Russia and Ukraine. We invested from the first fund into 13 companies, already exited from 7. Most of our first investments, they're quite iconic for fintech industry, like Simple Bank, Moving Bank, Feeder, SumUp, and Themis Group. 2 years ago, we relocated from Moscow to Singapore. We're already here for 2 years, invested in 8 companies in Singapore, Vietnam, India, and Philippines. Also, we are running 2 co-working spaces, Inspirasia in Singapore and Inspirasha in Innopolis. It is first year when, if we will exclude the deal with Alipay, fintech little bit decreased, but still this industry, it's #1 industry between whole VC-backed verticals, and for sure it will be the same story for the next 2 years. In the beginning of 2016, Asia became #1 region in terms of money which came to fintech industry across the world, and at the end of the year, Asia increased their ratio. I want to highlight these deals not because of this company specifically, but because which trends they're showing. The rise of Brazil, rise of InsurTech, rise of China. Regarding exit strategies, most exit scenarios belongs not to become listed company, not to go to IPO, but to be acquired by some bigger players, traditional bank, telco, internet giants. And most of new names between fintech unicorns, as I mentioned before, they're coming from China. Numbers of unicorns is not raising so fast as we want to, but their total valuation became twice bigger. In terms of diversity in fintech, still most of companies and money belongs to payment companies and lending startups. Regarding current topic, banks became more active in fintech industry. They invested 61% more in comparison with previous year. But if we will count whole money which came from banking side to fintech industry, total it will be maximum 24%. It means that if whole banks will decide to leave this party, nothing will happen with fintech. Telcos, internet giants, e-commerce giants, messengers, they are more active players. Regarding participation, regarding support of this industry by regulators across the world, Asia became the loudest one. Regulators of Singapore, Malaysia, Japan, South Korea, they announced many activities. To be honest, not whole articles, hackathons, awards, conferences converted to real deals. We believe that it will happen later, but right now, if we will count who is more active in terms of real results, for sure it is regulator from the UK. They issued real new type of fintech licenses for new players, not sandboxes, because to my own opinion, sandboxes, it is just polite way to say no for fintech players or to push them to work not with banks but for banks. In terms of US regulator, they became not so active as before, maybe because of Trump, maybe because of something else. Regarding fintech in Asia, I mentioned before that Asia became #1 region in terms of money which came to fintech industry, but we have to be honest that most of this money belongs to China. China became #1 market in fintech, not Southeast Asia. India really very active in terms of numbers of deals. India is #1 region. For Southeast Asia belongs only portion of this market, and whole market of Southeast Asia dropped for 36%. By the way, Singapore is #1 player here, but we see that there is some bottleneck problem with B and C rounds investment. There are many players on early stage, and there are many potential buyers and strategic investors. But what will happen with small companies, hundreds of these small companies tomorrow during this year and next year, because they're not prepared enough for appetite of big guys, and there is no many players who are supporting them together with regulators on mid stage of their growth. In terms of the diversification of fintech industry, specifically in Singapore, the same situation like in other Asian countries. We see several strong players in several verticals. Still, most of other verticals are empty, but any problem can be estimated as opportunity. Singapore can invite foreign players to come to Singapore and to establish their business, to scale their business to Asian markets through Singaporean gateway. Regarding blockchain, everybody talking right now about blockchain, Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, but if we will count how deals real customers, real impact to business processes, it's not so big business, more hype rather than real results. Vice versa. For example, InsurTech growing very fast, attracting millions of customers right now in US, Germany, Ireland. Several companies started their business across Asia, for example in Singapore. China also showing great results, not only new players but also such traditional players like Ping An Insurance Group. They disrupted themselves. They really transformed their business from traditional business to insurance business and they became very big but startup-oriented, startup-style company. If you will decide to launch a fintech company in US or in the UK, you will be launched in 3 months and you will spend maximum 20% of your resources to be launched. Why? Because you already know that such players like Bancorp will be happy to host you, CBW, a bank from Kansas, will be happy to host you, BBVA Compass will be happy to host you. You will spend maximum 2 weeks to talk with them. After that, they will send you via email the open APIs. That's done. You will be integrated, you will be launched. Here in Asia, in any country, you have to spend 3 months to talk with different C-level guys. After that, 3 months to talk with the IT director. After that, 6 months to be integrated directly with the backend, because still whole banks across Asia do not have their own APIs to host any kind of fintech startups. The biggest problem right now in Asia, it is lack of infrastructure. Who will unite core banking systems of different banks across different countries with new players? Because right now we see that none of these banks, even who promoted themselves as fintech promoters, they are not really advocates of fintechs. They still trying to support the currently existing traditional business. They want to save their role on the market. They do not want to disrupt themselves, as I mentioned. I think that this problem is not so important not only for fintech startups. I think that this infrastructure will help also government services, governments to launch new services based on this infrastructure faster, cheaper and easier than before. I think that telcos, which had already attracted millions of customers across the world, to launch fintech services for their customer base based on currently existing banking infrastructure for their customers. I think that messengers who are moving right now for payments, remittances, to launch their services too. And I think finally that it's a little bit stupid to talk about fintech in some specific country, because fintech, it is part of digital world, and in digital world you always have to scale. If you are not scaling, you are dying. You can create the biggest, the best one fintech ecosystem, for example, in Singapore. But what next? How you are supporting Singaporean fintech companies overseas? Because once again, if you are not scaling, you are dying. And I think this is the biggest problem right now, but the biggest opportunity for next 2 years for whole fintech players across the region right now.